over. What a thriller in Cashman Field on Saturday night. This was XFL North primetime. And if any of you watch college football final, you know that Joey Galloway and Matt Berry, great crew, super entertaining together, as always. They might be my favorite XFL crew. I love Tom Luganbill and what he does, but between Matt Berry and Joey Galloway, really entertaining broadcast. Good job to those guys. And as soon as Galloway said, "This wind is crazy, I think I'm going to take the under," you knew this was going to sail over. If you've seen some of his plays on college football final, him and Berry always go back and forth. But, man, this number opened at Seattle -3. And I pounced on that like a Ben DiNucci fumble at Audi Field. I was all over the Sea Dragons because I knew this number was going to climb. And it did. It closed at 4, and that's very significant to some of you. Don't wait on these numbers. You got to jump on them because the value will decrease throughout the week, especially on some of these favorites. These books are starting to catch up on the key numbers. So long story short, we cover -3 because after Ben DiNucci hits green on that beautiful corner route, Ben DiNucci runs off the field and he holds up 2 fingers. And that was not going to get through to June Jones. I'm sure he appreciates his quarterback's input, Zook, but Ben DiNucci running off the field holding 2 fingers up means squat to June Jones because he's going for 3 every single time. You should know your boss better than that by now, Ben. Come on. So June Jones ends up going for 3. He goes for 3 like Mikey Manziel loses bets. Just all the time. And it hit me. If we get this 3-point conversion, I'm supposed to be rooting for my team here, right? But it's a conflict of interest in my bet. If we get the 3-point conversion, we can't cover. It's over. Seattle wins, write it off. Or Vegas ends up winning outright if they drive down the field and score. So I'm really rooting for them not to get the 3. And they don't, of course. They've only converted on 2 this season. All the touchdowns they've scored, only 2 3-point conversions. So if anyone was in my corner there, whether you had 3 or 3.5 or 4, you were sweating this one out down the stretch. Seattle gets the ball back. The rest was history. Josh Gordon might have had a little bit to do with us covering. So thank you, Josh. Appreciate that. I keep seeing that Ben DiNucci post-play audio circulating, Zook. We were listening to it before the show. If you're watching the broadcast, you know Brett Hundley was doing this the entire game. The high-pitched squeak laugh. He scored a touchdown on a little run. He did it. He completed a pass to Jeff Badette. He did it. So I know what Ben DiNucci was doing here. He was hearing Brett Hundley running up and down the sidelines the whole game doing that. And he was like, I'm going to fire it up as soon as I throw this game-winning touchdown. And he did, and it was funny, and that clip went viral. Many of the edits kind of censored Ben DiNucci when I rewatched it. Let's not censor the guy. Let's let it fly. It's the XFL. We want to hear what we heard live, even in the highlight clips. So I said after week 1 that I thought Houston actually had the best skill position guys. But I think it's now a tie for first with Seattle after watching them. And they have a better quarterback. So if you have a tailback in Morgan Ellison, who might as well be the XFL's Derrick Henry, and you add in Josh Gordon and Jacor Pearson, who may as well be like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, the way that they're out there complimenting each other. You add a guy like Blake Jackson in there. You throw in the offensive line staying consistent and keeping DiNucci upright, only 1 sack for Vegas on Saturday night. Vic Beasley did get home once on that opening drive. Same way they did to D.C. Vegas forced that turnover on the first drive. Thought it might have been a forward pass there, but they rule it a fumble. You're thinking, here you go again, Ben DiNucci leading the league in fumbles. That one was tough, but his offensive line did a better job down the stretch. I can tell you, Zook, that the Seattle Sea Dragons are going to be trending up in our poll, regardless of being 1-2, because I was very impressed with what I saw from them on Saturday night. So what about Vegas? Where do you turn if you're the 0-3 Vipers? Well, your playmakers made plays. Jeff Badette, another great game. He balled out. Martavis Bryant looked in sync with Brett Hundley. We had that play which Joey Galloway just brilliantly broke down where Hundley made the hand signal on the 2-pointer. And Bryant knew what to run right away, so they looked more in sync than maybe Bryant and Perez did in weeks prior. Matthew Sexton made a huge play. Sin-Q Sweeting was out there, a threat in the return game. And our guy, Penn State, John Lovett, they hit him on a wheel route, the same play that they ran against DC. And it went for a long gain. This time he turned it into a touchdown because he had dry grass to cut back on. And he didn't slip over and go out of bounds. So John Lovett, a long touchdown that he probably thought put the game away, but the defense was just not able to hold. They even had, their kicker, who's had all kind of trouble. He made both of his field goals, knocked them right through, even in the wind. And, I'll say it again. Vegas cannot inside run block for the life of them. They just can't seem to generate a power run game. And they got a big back, Rod Smith. But Brett Hundley's not going to be able to be Lamar Jackson out there. He can't be leading the team in rushing. We do have a Best of the Boulevard nominee for this one, and it's actually not a player from either side. It is Eddie Garcia. Eddie Garcia was the red hat, and if you don't know how the XFL officiating works, the red hat is the official dedicated solely to spotting the ball. That's all he does. And Eddie Garcia was called on by Dean Blandino, actually, I think, in the Van Nuys control center. He said, ball spotter is going to be the placeholder. So Eddie Garcia, you are everything great about the XFL, holding that ball down for us, keeping it out of the wind. Eberle was able to boot it deep. Just not something you see. Usually it'd be a player. This time they get an official. Eddie Garcia wanted to shout you out, doubling as a holder with the 50-mile-an-hour winds that were swirling around in Vegas. So that's Seattle and Vegas. Really tough one if you had 4 because you push, but I guess it's better than losing. I'm sure you didn't really know what to root for down the stretch, but you got to get these numbers early. We get it at 3. We end up cashing by the skin of our teeth.